Poor chapter 13 of Revelation has been the victim of interpretational abuse over the years by scholars who should know better. A couple of examples here. Here's verse 3, describing the beast that rises out of the sea, the Antichrist. One of its heads seemed to have a mortal wound, but its mortal wound was healed, and the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. Back in the 80s, 90s, scholars identified this person as Gorbachev, the leader of the Soviet Union. Remember, he had the red birthmark on his forehead, looked like a bloody wound. Certainly that was him, right? The bloody wound that was healed. Gorbachev. And then at the end of the chapter, we have the beast identified by the number 666. Other scholars suggested Ronald Wilson Reagan, 6 letters in each of his names. He must have been the Antichrist. Or the Pope, or any number of other candidates have been suggested over the years by Bible scholars. Well, I'm not going to participate in that silliness. I suspect that when the Antichrist is revealed, we will know it. We will know who he is. But what I do want to focus on in this chapter is a couple of interesting verses about that Antichrist. Verse 5. The beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. Did you notice the passive verbs? Was given a mouth. Was allowed to exercise authority. We continue, verse 7. Also, it was allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them. It was allowed to make war on the saints and conquer them. Remember Friday we asked the question, why did God give Satan such a long tether and allow him to wreak such havoc on the earth out of his anger of being expelled from heaven? Why is this beast allowed to conquer God's people? We go on in verse 15. It was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. It was allowed, again, to do certain things. Why does God allow Satan and his representatives to do so much harm? Why are Christians persecuted so severely around the world? Why do Christians suffer? These are age-old questions, and this particular chapter doesn't answer them. We look to other scriptures to find those answers. But what this chapter does tell us is this, in verse 10. In verse 10, if anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword he must be slain. That's not a call for fatalism, just whatever will be, and I can't help it. No, the rest of the verse says, here is a call for the endurance and faith of the saints. Our suffering, our persecution is an opportunity for us to show endurance and to continue to grow in our faith in Christ. That call is repeated again in chapter 14, verse 12. Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus Christ. Whatever you're going through, and as you think of Christians around the world suffering for their faith in Christ, remember, this is your call. This is your opportunity to show endurance, to grow in faith and trust in God who is sovereign, who is allowing Satan to do whatever Satan does. Satan can't act on his own. He acts only as far as God allows him to act. There is our call for endurance and hope and faith.